Good afternoon. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I, on the first part, need an approval for our agenda. Evan Guthrie made that motion. I need a second. Lisa Tupper, any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. I have been requested, as I said earlier at the last meeting, that when we speak, being 6 feet apart and no one out there, but welcome all of you who are streaming, that we do take our mask off to speak, because we have quite a few of our families that are deaf, they're hearing impaired, and they wrote how much they appreciated being able to read our lips. But please remember, as soon as you're finished, to put your mask back on. So that's housekeeping for today, and at this time I'd like to turn the time over to Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you all for coming to this meeting on such short notice. But as we told you when we gave the plan out for reopening school, that it was very flexible, and that we would be making decisions as things came about that we could fine tune on it. We're waiting to hear back from Ms. Spearman and the State Department of Education. We're also realized that you know, in approving moving the date back as we'd asked for September the 8th, that we would have to, at some later time, go back and readjust other calendar dates to fit the time period, if that's what we wanted to do. So we have some options of that tonight for you to consider, with the real issue being, I guess, how late are you willing to go to school? So that's really the number one question. And if you're willing, that's not an object, since we're starting so late. We're starting like 15 days late. So if you take 15 days back on the normal time that we get out of school, that's about what the calendar is, because it's just moving everything back that time, and that's very easy and simple, and that's on there because that's the calendar that was put together from teacher input, and parents and all had given those input through liaison. So we wanted to be true to them, since that we did not have time to push that back out for people to look at the options. So we kept that there simple, and Pat's going to be going through that. Do you want to do that first? Because we're also going to do an update of where we are after Ms. Spearman's conversation with us, and also a couple other loose ends that we want to bring to your attention, some things that we've been working on that are now part of our flexible plan that have been worked out, so we can, if you're okay with nothing of the changes that we're looking at, then we'll continue moving forward and getting this out to the parents and teachers. But we don't want to give any new information out from our plan without first running it by you, and for you to have understanding of why we feel that's necessary or not necessary. And I think it's nothing you've not already heard. It's just we've got a final answer on some of these things. Good. Okay? With that started, let's start with Pat.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Robinson, members of the board, Mr. Pye. As Mr. Pye said, we have moved as quickly as possible in making some adjustments to this year's calendar. You all were very spot on in approving the later start date of September the 8th, and we are right in align with most school districts in the state, and certainly within our region with that later start date. But with that being said, that is cutting the original calendar 15 days short of the 180 instructional days that is still required by state law. So we looked at the calendar, and as Mr. Pye said, definitely wanted to keep the main the holidays, as the committees and all of our groups did come to consensus on, and try to work with the flexibility that was possible. You find there's not a whole lot of flexibility within, a calendar, but I think the group, Mr. Pye's staff and others did a great job of really thinking through. So we came up, I wanted to first of all address in this proposal to adjust the schedule of the sequencing of leap days and teacher staff development work days is different from the original calendar that you all did approve. And this, after we received input and had a very in-depth meeting with our principals last Thursday afternoon, did indeed receive 100% endorsement to make this change. Their concern, as well as district staff, was that we would be, the way the original proposal would have brought students in for leap days. Of course, it's optional, but we are certainly hoping for good participation from our students with this, and it is optional for teachers as well for K through 8th grade. But the principals were concerned, as were district staff, with the fact we would be bringing in our LEAP children, or children for that LEAP period week, without the teachers having any opportunity to be in the building. We would be bringing them in, both groups, for the first day together, which was not probably most beneficial for all involved, and there were concerns, everything from school nurses having an opportunity to get medications that students would have to be provided during the course of the school day. So, as I say, the principals agreed that it would be in the best interest of their teaching staff, as well as certainly families, to change that sequence and bring teachers in first for the 24th, as you see, the 24th through the 28th for elementary and middle school teachers. Then you, just for the time being, if you'll ignore that next line, because that would pertain if we do have 7 staff days in the beginning of the calendar, and we'll explain that in a few minutes. And then staff development and work days for high school teachers, since they are not involved in the LEAP program, the high school principals felt that it would be in their best interest and to have them keep the originally scheduled staff days of August 31st through September 4th. Then LEAP days would be August 31st through September 4th. And as I say, that schedule is incorporated into all 3 options of the calendar. Do you all have any questions about that? Mr. Pye, did you have anything to add?
The kids that don't show up for LEAP because they're advice.
Yes, ma'am. There will be, Ms. Crosby was asking about opportunities for children who don't participate in the LEAP program to get those devices. That most definitely is something that's been discussed by Dr. Huggins as well as the directors, and there definitely will be opportunities such as our virtual academy students, either in the afternoon, since LEAP days will be half days for students. There'll be opportunities during the afternoons of those days as well as that Friday. And other times, I think high schools are actually schedule their distribution for the previous week a little bit earlier. So,
August 7th to 21st for the high school.
thank you, Dr. Huggins.
Do the buses run for LEAP?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Grades
Transportation is
K through 8.
And the kids will know by then whether or not they're in the morning or the afternoon?
They'll be told the AABB schedule,
Yes.
that are, if it's one of those like earlier grades, it'll be morning and afternoon, yes.
And our curriculum and instruction staff, they already have something ready to go out to parents, asking them about those things, about participation in LEAP. So, yes, ma'am. So if we can go to the first version, we came up with 3 proposals. They're very similar to some degree. You have a copy in front of you. I'll start with option 1. We, of course, have to have or will have the 10 staff development work days for staff as required by the state for 190 days. So this proposal calls for having 7 days at the very beginning in August, as you can see. And this is a way to give our teachers more time to prepare, since they have not been, many of them, in classrooms for months. So that will, I'm sure, and there will be staff development that will occur during that time period as well. Students begin on, as we know, September the 8th, the month of October. November, we did reach out to the State Department. The election day on November 3rd by state statute is required in a general election for schools to be closed, but we did reach out to ask if we could utilize e-learning for that day, so the buildings would be closed, but students will still have an instructional day, and they did approve that, so we can use that as an instructional day. We did remove the 22nd the 23rd and 24th that were originally designated as holiday and staff days to give us much needed instructional days. December remains as is. The month of January remains as is. We are having a staff day on February 1st, and this is the in conjunction with the end of the semester, which is a critical time for preparing for the turnover of semester. The staff days were removed from March. You see April, we have spring break. The Good Friday before is a staff day. May remains, and then this calendar would, the 190th day, or 80th day, pardon, for students would be on the 16th of June with a work day the following day, which is not too terribly bad under the circumstances. It's later than usual, but I think that calendar is similar to a lot of the calendars in other districts. So that. Then we go to option B. It also has the 7 work days, staff days in the beginning of August, or during the month of August. The difference in this calendar, as you go through, it's very similar to option 1. The biggest difference with this is the abbreviated spring break to recoup some of the instructional days. So students and staff would come back on the 7th, 8th, and 9th, which would result in the last day for students being a little earlier on June the 11th, with staff coming back on that Monday. And if you all have any questions, please ask. And then option 3 is similar to option 2, except it only has the 5 work days in August. It also adds a staff day in October and a staff day in March. And it also has an abbreviated spring break, with the last day for students being the 15th of June and staff on the 16th. And you will see in purple the graduation schedule is listed for the, because I know that is certainly a consideration that's very important to our families. In the option 1, graduation would be scheduled for the 12th of June. In option B, it would be the 5th of June, and then option 3, it would be again the 12th of June. So, as you can see, there's pros and cons for both, but it does allow us to meet the required 190 days for staff and 180 days for students.
Ms. Rayner, does it help the teachers, because this last one you have extra staff days, is that what they had requested, to have the extra?
Mm-hmm.
No?
This came from another district and from
Okay.
districts around the state. We saw that's what they were doing. We thought, well, that would be an option we put out there. But that was never on anybody's mind, ever. We've always looked at 4 days or 3 days versus the 5. We've never gone beyond the 5.
Okay. I just wanted to know if our teachers were the ones that put this request in.
Well, that's been, as Mr. Pye said, that's been usually our protocol in calendars is to have a work day close to the end of a quarter. But with this unusual circumstances that we're in right now, it's a matter of would they rather have an entire spring break and have the work days, or have an abbreviated spring break, or go later in June, or so it's just a catch-22, I guess, in many ways.
So the calendar that, excuse me, that was chosen by our group, the liaison group and that sat down, was the option number 1?
I don't think there was a preference. I think a lot of people did feel that it would be...
The one approved by the board, the one originally approved by the board.
Oh, yes,
Which
sir.
one is it most akin to?
I would say probably option 1, because we are keeping all of the major holiday breaks intact as approved, yes. There's no abbreviated holidays, and that seems
I just want to make sure that our teachers get the days that they need and they're happy with the schedule that they're having to, they're going to have time to get everything done they need to get done, so that's what I was wondering. Okay.
And there are several districts that are doing these 7 days at the beginning in August to allow more time for teachers to prepare.
Pat, I don't know if this is addressed to you or Mr. Pye or Ms. Esep. Do you realize that there are 7 Monday, Tuesdays that kids will not be in school? So how would you make up the Monday, Tuesday days when there's that many? Would you just move the schedule to, like, Wednesday, Thursday would still come, but I don't know how. I'm just saying, have you thought about how, or is that a new cog in the...
That's a new cog, thank you. It would just, whatever, Lord, I would like to think that we're back to normal by then, but that's not, with my luck, that probably won't happen. But in the meantime, we would, whatever it falls on, we tend to start it up the very next day. We would not stop it and just pretend it didn't happen and skip somebody. We would just pick up where we left off. Isn't that
But you had
correct?
Wednesday, Thursday,
Yes.
so where you could put Monday, Tuesday.
Those kids will be missing a day.
See, you're out either for a
Excuse me, Ms.
holiday.
Crosby, is
I
that
bring one
no
in
matter
on
what
Wednesday and the other
calendar?
group on Thursday. I would give them both a day each, and everybody loses a day. That's what I would do.
But I just,
I bring in Monday and Tuesday kids on Wednesday, and the Wednesday, Thursday kids would come on Thursday. Each group that week would get 1 day where they had lost. They each have a day lost and pick up a day.
I
The
just
thing
thought I'd
is-
bring that to your attention.
The thing is then you might have a problem, because you may have a problem with daycares, you may have a problem with after schools, that kind of thing, if you start switching them up.
Yeah, but you're going to
On
let those
different days.
Monday kids or Monday, Tuesday kids miss 7 days? That's a whole week.
No,
Well,
no,
that's
no.
more
What
than
I'm
that.
saying is maybe we should adjust the calendar just in case that happens to alternate Monday, Tuesdays, all these Monday, Tuesdays, put some of them on Thursday, Fridays to kind of balance them out, just in
That's
case
a
we
good idea.
still have
That's what
this
we have
problem.
normally done
That's a
in the
good idea.
past.
Right.
Normally in the past, we've tried to see ahead how that looked and make it fit.
I just hate to start
We can do
changing
that.
schedules on parents and teachers and kids, just because they've had a day off, say, okay, well, this week you're not coming Monday, Tuesday, you're coming on Wednesday, and, it just causes a lot of confusion, I think, if we,
Well, like I
Change
said, I
midstream.
just was just making them aware that,
right, and I agree with that, that's a great point.
It's a great point, yes, it is. That's why this has to be a flexible schedule, because you can't see everything out there, because we've never done this before. I mean, this is totally different. And every time we mess with something we've agreed upon, our calendar, no matter how different it might be by a couple of days, it's the same traditional calendar we've always had. It just maybe a different starting day, a different extra day for a holiday, a fall break or something, but generally it's the same basis. So when you start dealing with like we're doing, you're getting away from that commonality. We're trying to keep it as common as we can, so it's easier to explain. But child care is an issue with this whole year because of the way this schedule is going to be. The parents certainly aren't wild over the hybrid. neither our teachers, anybody. It's what it is. It's half and half. But then you got the majority of our teachers and many of our children and parents that feel that until the health conditions are good, they do not want to be face-to-face. They want to be, but they want to protect their health first. That's more important, and we're trying to honor that. But eventually, everybody wants to be back face-to-face as soon as we can. So we're trying to make everything transitional so that on a short notice, we can move to whatever we're told to move to, such as, I'll be explaining in a minute, or Maurice, that will be what our contingencies are on our approved plan through the State Department, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You have to be flexible, and we just, I don't know how things will happen the way sometimes people see it, but the way it's worded, obviously they know that, and they've left the door cracked. It's just not giving people a lot of notice. I hate working on a 1 week's notice, but the governor gave us no notice when he closed schools. So just thought I'd mention that.
Well, and to Ms. Hughes' point about leaving the original workday, say in March, that kind of thing, we certainly that model was looked at, that adjustment was looked at, but the repercussion was that school would not have dismissed until the 23rd, I think, of June, and would have thrown, so late in June. Right. So, but there are two other, I think, points to highlight for you. There are no early dismissal days built into the calendar this year because of obvious reasons. And the second good news is now that we are an e-learning district, we are not required to designate makeup days. So you will not see the word makeup days on the calendar, so we're no longer required to designate in the case of a necessary school closure. That will be handled through e-learning. So that's a good thing.
It is, especially with hurricane season coming.
Yes.
So just to clarify, you're going to readjust those Mondays and redo the calendar?
Well, when you look at them, several of them are designated holidays. You
Certainly,
cannot
like Christmas and, right.
Well, no. Memorial Day, is it Martin Luther King? President's Day and Labor Day. I mean, so that's 3 Mondays you cannot move. So the only option you have is to move staff development days, teacher work days to other days. But I don't know that I can find 3 that make up. But anyway, that's fun you get to do.
Right.
Also, well, real quick, I know Ms. Canaran spent a lot of time with you on this.
Yes, she did.
And some of these things that I'm hearing, we did have some conversation about it. But I just now remembering we had the conversation, but evidently we were satisfied with what we put. So I'm not sure if we're completely all on the same page. Ms. Canaran, you following this conversation, do you see something about those Mondays and Tuesdays?
No, sir, because I was going to point out the same thing that Ms. Tucker pointed out, that some of them we have no control of them based on holiday.
Sorry. So the people at home can hear you.
Well, like in January the 18th, I'm sure that's President's Day or whatever it is. So
September is one.
we're out. I mean, we're out. September's autumn, we're already out anyway.
I won't touch anything. That some of them have, we have no bearing over. When we looked at this, we looked at trying to give the options in order to provide teachers with enough planning time at the end of the quarters, as well as trying not to have everyone in school to mid to late June. With that. But we do have some options in order to be able to change schedules, as Mr. Pye said, to make sure that there is face-to-face time every week for students, even on the abbreviated weeks. But we felt like some of the holidays were absolutely non-negotiables, even to do e-learning in those regards. We were glad that we were able to get Election Day approved as an e-learning day to add another instructional day in the calendar that we didn't have to tack on to the end or take another holiday for that.
Thank you.
It looks like to me that the only one that is possibly a negotiable day would be the February 1st, because that's the only Monday that is a staff development day. The rest of the days are all holidays. So that's the only one. So maybe we could just see about taking that off the Monday schedule and maybe putting that on the Wednesday, Thursday schedule?
We could definitely look at that. I don't see a problem with that. We do need to keep that day somewhere in the vicinity because
Right.
that is the new end of the semester.
Right.
And so that'll be a critical day. Maybe we move it to the Friday before.
Before.
You know, and get it off of that Monday, since if we do still happen to be on the hybrid or e-learning, let's hope not, the Friday is a more flexible day in the hybrid model anyway, so it may be a better day to swap out for that Monday, February the
Yeah.
2nd.
Yep.
That's the simplest thing to do.
That would be left is right, give and still give them that day.
Well, Memorial Day, you know, we can go to school, we did last year. We went to school on Memorial Day.
I don't think we, did we?
Yeah. I mean, didn't we go to school one?
I don't remember.
We didn't go that day.
Um,
Don't-
We did have school that day. We had school that day.
Thank you.
18th of January, I'm sure it's President's Day. Do we have to take that?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's a federal holiday, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know, I guess they probably aren't gonna do President's Day this year, you know?
We took President's Day off the calendar.
That's what I'm saying, it was, yeah. Thank you.
A lot of work went into this, you can tell.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of work.
Oh, yeah. Y'all did a lot of work, and thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair, are we looking for, at this point, are we looking for a motion to approve one of these calendars, or is there going to be, do we have more discussion that we need to do, or?
Well, I think that ultimately that's what we need to do. I would, without putting you on the spot, I would like to know how you feel, which of the three. Because,
I've been the hardest one for them to deal with. I can live with all three. My calendar didn't make it. Mine is start in December, get out in January. And everybody face to face for 1 month, unless it's bring it on home and have a good long week. A true vacation with no criteria to do face masks and all those things that people have not really had. I know people think, well, the schools have had a 5-month vacation. I don't know about you. I've had no vacation. I mean, it's just, I couldn't go anywhere. You can't do anything. And who wants to be out in the public doing things anyway, under these conditions? So it's been a rough time, but we'd love to get back to normal as much as possible. It's very difficult when you're dealing with trying to deal with the child care issues, trying to deal with the travel for people who like to travel out of state for some of these holiday periods, and also to do what's right for parents, because they get very upset, and rightfully so, when they're out for several days. Of course, you notice we will not be doing any early dismissals this year or any of those things. So if you're not here, it's because it's on the calendar, and we have to have 180 days for students and 190 days for teachers, and that's what this was, trying to count that up. And frankly, the very original, our regular old calendar just moved back and let it fall where it would fall. It ended on the 21st. So I was trying to see mentally, would people accept having that extra week or two and not tampering with one thing? Everything is already set and there, but we'll have to make these Mondays and Tuesdays. We obviously will have to make a slight adjustment in there and go ahead and mark and let people know what that's going to be. Moving things perhaps to some Fridays would really cut that back big time. So with that said, I'm fine with them. Every time I think I like one, I'm sitting here looking at three, and I think three looks very good to me. But yesterday when Pat and I talked, I liked one. So they're very different. I'm not wild about the 2 extra days on the front end of the calendar. Teachers may appreciate that, but that's 7 days. I'm sure the principals will allow any teacher that wants to go work in their room access to do so, since there'd be so few in the building, and that would be the main thing. We're not getting ready for Meet the Teacher this year. We're not having open houses. Those things aren't happening. So therefore, the pressure's not on the teachers to have things dolled up. You'll find out like the LEAP week being the second week from what we had proposed before is the first week, is to help those little children, particularly kindergarten and first graders, second graders. The parent might drop them off at the front door. Child goes in, they're crying, they're upset, they have no idea where they are, and there someone says, "You're in Miss Jones's room." Miss Jones comes out. It's her first day. She had just arrived on the job. She was just tired the night before. She just arrived. She's only been 5 minutes. She's never been in the room. So she and the child walked down to the room to see it for the first time. Not good. There is no way that teacher's going to be warm and fuzzy, and there is no way that child's going to feel loved and everything's been around them. You know, our teachers are so good of, we get kids in the middle of the year and the class can be packed with students, and the teachers got everybody moving along. Here we've got this kind of could be a roadblock in the road. We've got a child that's coming in that hasn't been part of the group, could be considerably behind. Our teachers are so good. Oh, Johnny, the teacher, we sit down from the office, the name of the child, so she greets the child and the parent by name. "We've been waiting on you. I've got the desk." She already has the desk ready. They pull there, the whole class gets so excited, talk about it, everybody introduces themselves. It's so planned out that the parent and child leaves that day feeling that everybody was prepared for them. We couldn't wait for them to come. We're so excited. We never want anybody to feel not excited.
Mr. Pye, regarding the 7 staff development days as opposed to 5, do you feel like teachers are going to have an additional workload? They're going to have to get their classes ready, and with the virtual school, I don't know how many teachers are going to be moving around. Are they going to have lots of curriculum, additional curriculum? You know, are they going to appreciate having 7 days to have some staff development, to work on their curriculum, to work on their room, or are they going to feel like 5 is enough?
Well, we've done 4 so many years. We moved it to 5, so that's why we were concerned, but this is a different year, and some may won't hold 10. We just felt like that everything we've ever done, teachers have to have a day or 2 in those months in the spring. It's just too long of a period, and we've closed down with the 9 weeks and all. They have to have time to get the grades in and other things, to make adjustments. That's when we move kids out of interventions, like from Read 180 back into the regular classroom. We make transitions then, and I think right now they would probably choose the 2 days because it's right now. Once the 2 days are gone, we get the spring, everyone's going to say, "Why don't we have these days off in the spring?" So I would err on if I were teaching again, I would appreciate having something every month if at all possible, so we can spread it out and have everything then and know that's the end of it for the rest of the year. Even though it's going to always be too much. We'll never have enough time.
At this time, could anybody else, maybe we'll go around, and if you have any suggestions, ideas, or thoughts, now's the time. Mr. Mitchum?
Yeah, I see what Mr. Pye was saying in regards to the 5 days, but then I just look down at April and see 2 days, and I'm thinking, would people rather have a little bit of normalcy maybe at that point in time to have the regular spring break? But that's just me. Like you said, if there are teachers that feel like they want to come in and do more than the 5 days, nobody's going to lock down the schoolhouse and not let you in. That would be my only comment, but very good work. There's certainly a lot to consider.
And with the spring break at that time too, that's showing Good Friday is a staff day with no students. The students would have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So it's somewhat of a little break. And teachers, if they choose to take that day because they're going out of town or whatever, it all works out. Yeah,
that was my only thought looking.
So that's always optional. We hear that, those who are, have always observed that as far as that, but as a district, that's normally not something we schedule for. If it works out, sometimes that spring holiday falls at a certain time and it just happens to be okay. I know the Azalea Festival too is important. They like for us not to be in school on that Friday. It's going on, so that's already been canceled, so we didn't have to deal with that here. So, but all those things we try to take in consideration.
Has that, Ms. Tupper, has that been canceled for April also?
Yes.
Okay, wow.
A year ahead of it? A year ahead of time?
Yes, they had planned it for September, and
Mr. Pike, could you explain about the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as far as the time schedule for children? What you have planned?
Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, the same schedule. Half the class comes on Monday and Tuesday, the other half comes on Wednesday and Thursday. It's a 6.5-hour day. It will be a structured day where the teacher is giving them face-to-face instruction. This is on the hybrid model. And then on Friday would be the e-learning day for all of them with the different groups. If you're Monday, Tuesday, your e-learning days will be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you are face-to-face with the teacher on the B schedule, then you will have e-learning Monday, Tuesday, and Friday with the teacher on Wednesday and Thursday. I did good with that, putting those days in there.
The half-day thing, you're not going to mention that?
Half-day thing. I'm trying to think about what that was. Oh, you talking about, oh, yeah, that's coming up in our next, that's something different. How we bring it in. She's mentioning, you know, I bring up every time Ms. Crosby has asked, and from a previous conversation that we had in here earlier, when I gave the preview some meetings ago, is that I really feel young children have a very difficult time, in my opinion. They're sharp on the computer, but can they have the attention span, and they have to, will they have direct adult supervision to help guide them through the practices? Children who are well-adjusted, well-advanced, probably will do okay. But if there's any struggling at all and the parents are busy trying to get dinner ready and bathtubs done and all those other things, there could not be that time. I think that age child cannot be left alone, independent, totally. So I have an issue with that, even though, you know, you're married to what you have. But, so we have worked it out that the 4K schedule, they will be coming 5 days a week, a morning session and an afternoon session, 2 hours and 45 minutes each session. And we're going to observe the same schedule with 5K and first graders. And if I can work out second, I'm going to try to do that too. But I think that at least gives face-to-face every day. The short attention span, especially at the beginning of school, should work out just about right. And the computer programs that we depend on, like Waterford, would be perfect. And Imagine Learning and those things at home in the afternoon, they're self-guided. And so I think that that could really be the answer to that situation, as well as special needs students based on their IEPs. Many of them will be coming 5 days a week too. Full days, I believe, is what we're planning for most of them. However, the IEP may call for something different, but we're going to make those adjustments accordingly to what is required for them.
I love that. And those little babies need that sense of normality in their lives, even if it's just a few hours. That is great. It is.
I was really excited over that. And like I said, it's a gift horse when he gave me kindergarten. I went back to the well, wanted to do first. Remember, he said no to kindergarten. Now I get a yes. Then I had the nerve to ask him about first. He says yes. So I'm thinking, should I try my luck on second? Now, I think third is fine. They'll be fine. But second is kind of in between, back, especially that first semester. They're still basically first graders, and I would like to give that option if we can get the buses out there. But remember, because we have the different schedules of what we're trying to do, it does allow us the extra time we built in the middle to clean the buses, which we would have to do between sessions. Also, the custodial crew would have to go into the classrooms and clean down those rooms between the sessions. So you got to be careful how many rooms you put there because, can we get them done in a timely fashion and make that work? And that was the way kindergarten was taught for many years. It'll be shortened, which means we will not have the typical schedule. We'll be working on social, emotional, language arts, in other words, reading, writing, arithmetic. That will be the best we can carry. And of course, teachers at that level blend all the subjects together. As they teach reading, they're also teaching some science. It's not maybe called science, it's called reading, but they're teaching some science concepts. Same thing with social studies. So for that age, that's very appropriate. And like I said, we will condense the schedules to make sure these children will get some solid instruction every day of the week.
During that time, since they don't go to special area?
Well, I didn't say they weren't going to special area yet. We haven't
I
decided.
don't want to hijack the conversation. I just want to make sure we stay on topic because I really, it's all over the
Okay,
place.
this will come up later. That's why I was addressing her. It's Lori Step's going to present that. So we're out of sequence is what's happening. It's going to cause confusion. But really, she'll be discussing that in just a second. Of course, there's still a lot of things to be determined. We have a general picture, but as we get further through this and looking at it, we begin to pick up some details that we could have missed the first time around. That's why we left the door open and telling people nothing's been etched in stone yet. We've not given anything to the public. They're hearing it for the first time, many of them tonight, if they're listening in, and they can go on the webpage, begin to see it. But nothing's written that this is it. There'll be no changes. Everything's temporal. We're at the mercy of COVID, and we're also at the mercy of the State Department of Education, the Governor of South Carolina, and the President of the United States. All those factors have to be weighed in before we can make a decision, unfortunately.
Ms. Tupper?
It seems like there's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. I just want to do the right thing for the teachers as far as their preparation and what time they need, and make it as easy for parents to be able to take care, like I said, a week of spring break or not. And I know that the sooner we can make a decision, the better it is for everyone. I don't know if is it worth, you said the administrators have not given you any feel for which option they have, if they had a preference?
No.
I can see it all.
It's been talked about a lot, but not certainly formally.
Come on. Miss Hughes, are you finished, Ms. Tupper?
I think all of these, obviously, a lot of thought's gone into every one of these, and we've tried to think of all the scenarios of everything that could possibly come up. But I'm thinking that option number one is probably the one that is going to keep everyone as close to normal as possible. And not only that, it's already the calendar, as you said, it's closest to the calendar that we've already approved, so it's what they were already planning on. I don't like the idea that there is a long period of time there in March, but then also I realize that parents and teachers both look forward to that spring break and make plans for that spring break, and probably plans have already been made for that spring break. And so we don't want to infringe on those either. So, like I said, I'm kind of leaning towards kind of keeping it as normal as what we had already planned for. Yeah.
One is
Number
the best
one.
one. You asked me one was the best one, in my opinion.
Okay.
They're all lacking, but that's the better of the three, in my
Right.
opinion.
In this imperfect moment in time, we got to do what we can. Mr. Farnsworth?
Yep, I go one way, and then as soon as I hear something else, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I think my thinking, and I could certainly be wrong, getting into 21 and 22, assuming that we are getting back to a fairly normal schedule, I think my only concern there is to get kids out as early as we can in this next school year, so to not shortchange them on a summer going into 21 and 22 possibly. And I know it's only a matter of a few days. I mean, from option 1 to option 2, you're talking the 11th versus the 16th. So was that 2 school days? 2 or 3 school days? So it's not a huge difference. So I could go either way. I like 1 or 2. But I certainly see what Ms. Hughes is saying, to keep it close to what we had before. I just worry again if it shortens that summer by a good bit. That's my only concern. That's why I was looking at 2. But yeah, that's what I have.
Because we had a lot of input on the schedule that you adopted recently, and so we have to change this. Everybody understands that, and all the things we brought up are all important, and I'm sure it would be all over the place if everybody could weigh in. But in the absence of that, I think keeping it as close to what all the groups weighed in on would be fair to them. I agree, Ms. Hughes, you're right on it.
Mr. Guthrie?
So I'd probably be in favor of just keeping the traditional spring break, I guess option 1. But if there's any way, I guess we could get an extra staff day thrown in there, I guess from the start, that would probably be the most optimal one, but either in October or March. Yeah, definitely I'd probably lean towards option 1 at this point, just to keep it as similar as possible and try to keep some sense of normalcy.
Okay. I'm going to, at this time, need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposed calendar option number 1 that was proposed by the administration.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Guthrie, second. Any more discussion? All those in favor of option 1 for the 2020-21 school calendar, raise your hand. It is unanimous. It is finished. It is number 1.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for putting this away. We started it somehow that we got in the woods.
Okay. Is there anything else under your?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now we want to talk a little bit more about some other things that we've been working on that could be some changes, including what I've already revealed to Ms. Crosby and y'all a minute ago. Laurie will reiterate a couple of those things to tell you what we come up with as we begin to clarify our plans.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through, I've got my notes in front of me. I want to go through and talk a little bit about, we've had a lot of questions about what Molly Spearman has said, that our plan was approved, so we feel really good about that. But then that little contingent upon September 14th, a face-to-face option was thrown in. And so we've had a lot of questions about what does that mean? So we have, Ms. Rayner has put together, and we've all reviewed it at sort of a back-to-school update that we want to send out. And so in discussion, in Mr. Pye's discussion with Ms. Spearman during their superintendent's meeting, we have been approved to open on the temporary e-learning model. So that's the all-virtual school-based model, that high-risk red column, if you can picture our slide that we've had up there before. Again, I emphasize that that is temporary. So all students would be on e-learning from home, and then that next week, since we open on the 8th, on the 14th, we would have to provide a face-to-face option. So at that time, our plan right now would be to go to our hybrid model, moving into that yellow, the AABB, unless conditions had not improved by the DHEC metrics. And then at that time, we have been assured by Ms. Spearman that we could apply for an extension to continue with the e-learning model until conditions were safe. So we would have to apply with an extension to the State Department stating our reasons for that.
They want us to have a goal, a target, to get back to face-to-face as soon as we can, but they understand the health risks as a concern. They just didn't want us to be in complete control of that decision for whatever reason. So we have to keep asking for an extension, And if the risk is high, I feel comfortable they will continue to approve it until and of course, if it changes, they don't have to tell us they won't approve it anymore. We'll be the first ones to jump out and do it. But I thought that was very interesting because we have a very good plan. About as good as it gets. And many districts have something similar, and they got the same calls we got. And the calls were coming in last weekend saying, we want to accept it, but we got a little wrinkle here we got to work on. And some language on special needs students, which we had. It just wasn't their language out of their manual, so we put their paragraph in. They were happy. We thought that would get it approved. Then we get this thing about we can do this, the e-learning for 1 week. Well, if we're going to bother to do it, we certainly would do anything for just 1 week. That didn't seem to make sense. But we're going to do that with the eye on, hopefully it'll be better. We can go right into the hybrid model, but if it's not, we plan to immediately ask for an extension there, and we're going to keep asking all year if we feel the health conditions have not changed. Our philosophy on what we plan to do with this has not changed one bit. My attitude improved over this since Friday because we kept having contact with them, and Julie I can't get in the weeds with these people, but in the meantime, Julie kept, well, what do you mean by this? And basically, it was said, it's up to, you are in the driver's seat. If the health conditions are like you're predicting there to be, we just don't want you to go ahead and make definite plans. We want you to be ready, but start out the way you want. But you have to justify to us why you're not ready to move 1-to-1. And if we're at high risk, and I've got that support from DHEC and other agencies, then it's just what it is. And then if we're told we have to move forth, then the public needs to know that we were ordered to move there. The district did not willfully make that disruptive decision and harmful decision to children. So I haven't changed my philosophy on that at all, and want to be fair that this is a way to show that they're trying to get us back to normal, but they realize at the end of the day, we got to do what we got to do. And I don't think anybody's going to be able to say you can't do something when all the things point that that's it. I mean, that's reckless. I don't think anybody's willing to do that. That's just my gut feeling. So I have to trust that they're dealing with lots of people with different motives, different agendas, and we don't have one except to do what's right by our staff and our students. So I think they see that, they know that. They just can't tell me something different than they tell somebody else. But as long as they're going to let us start off with what we would think we need to start off with, and then let us assess it and ask for additional help, I feel good about that. I think that's okay.
Mr. Pye, is this something that's going to have to happen weekly? You're going to have to ask for this extension every week? I mean, how disruptive is that with parents and with daycares?
I don't think it'd be weekly. I think this first one was, since we're asking for permission for the plan 6 weeks out. They said, we want you to start with that, but we want to make sure you're not getting comfortable thinking, well, we're going to keep it this to December and then we might move out of it. I think that's just to keep us on our toes. My guess is that we will ask for the waiver, and we may be given, sort of like we were in the spring, 3 or 4 weeks, like a month, and just say, this is the next target date. We would notify our public, that's our next decision date, that we have to be ready to move to the next level, or...
Well, that makes sense. I'm just concerned about...
That's my guess. I don't know.
I'm just concerned about making plans, everybody making plans, because there's so much plans that has to go in outside of the school district to make sure that our students are taken care of outside of the school district. And, for them to put us at such short notice like that and, flip-flopping back and forth. So, as long as we've got a little bit of leeway there where everybody can...
That might be why large numbers of districts went ahead and decided they're going straight on to the hybrid model. They just going to not mess with it. But, I'm just defiant enough that I want to do the right thing. I believe this, and like I say, put us in that situation. Our public just needs to understand we are at the mercy of what the health department says are the conditions, and then our state department and federal government and the governor's office, where they honor that. As right now there's debates on everything that comes from DHEC and all. People are questioning questioning if it's the right thing, the wrong thing, and our plan says it's the right thing, and we're following that guidance, good or bad or indifferent. But it's there, as the state legislature gave, they're not controlling the governor, can't make us do this. It's Molly Spearman was given this authority through the state legislature, and I think she's trying to follow the guidelines as the governor is wishing, and the whole nation, a lot of them are torn and are doing these things, but I think she is extremely concerned about the well-being of our students. I honestly believe that. So I think I'll just play my game at that time.
Mr. Pye, Molly Spearman says that they have to go at least one day face-to-face, correct? A week? Each week?
Yes, starting that second week after the 14th, unless we have health conditions that we can say is in our area that's different. See, she can't make that statewide because we may have a county like, let's just say Oconee County has not had a death in 2 months and they don't have any cases. Why would they not move on to the next level? Whereas if Charleston County, our neighbor, is the highest risk district, county in the state and number 5 in the nation, and we're the next door neighbor and our numbers are running through the roof, then I think we have a good reason to say we have great fear and concern where another district may not be in that boat. I think that's keeping from having a standard for everybody, but yet again leaving a loophole for anybody who can prove otherwise. And we do have a good reputation with them. They know we're sincere and we're doing it for the right reasons. So I'll be hard-pressed to say today that I think this is a game and they just going to guide us along and make us do this every week until we get harassed to do it. I don't think that's the intent. I truly think it's genuine that they want to work with us within the realm of what they've been given.
Mr. Pye, piggybacking on what Ms. Hughes had said, with some of that uncertainty, and I think you're answering to the best we can, but because we don't know if we're going to come back e-learning, hybrid, we just don't know at this point. It's all based on the numbers. But based on that, would there be any discussion, and I know we had talked about it previously, of maybe reopening the virtual registration for a period of time?
I never wanted to close it. The reason that we had to was the teachers. We have more students than we have teachers. So we can't accommodate anybody else in virtual. Not one, let alone 150. We're short teachers. And so, but again, we've hired teachers and the students want to be in virtual, not in their classroom. So we got to disconnect then. Who are they going to teach? And so we've got a real personnel problem we're working on to try to work this out. But I can imagine we're going to do without that. We get so many calls a day. Miss Bohannon last night went home and answered over 200 emails from yesterday after she talked nonstop on the phone and others were helping her. She had to take over 200 emails home and do it from her home because she wants to respond within the day to everybody. She's been very good about that and fair and consistent. Our waiting list is well over 400. There should be no waiting list. The governor has declared, as is Ms. Spearman, that every parent has a choice. Come to school in some form, that's either hybrid or the traditional, or you get virtual. And the districts have been told we will do that. So we have gone to a lot of trouble to put this program together, but we are floored by the numbers. It's approaching 7,000. We out there. It could go to 8 or 9 or 10 before it's over with. Greenville has 20-something thousand. We've been calling other districts, and and there's a lot of issues with this around the city. Everybody's been caught with their pants down, literally in the hands in the cookie jars. Everything. They just don't know what to do with anything. So it's an awkward situation for us to be in, but we are going to open it. That's the bottom line. My staff, they're writing me, personnel, all of them, they're trying to get the people together, they're interviewing, but the parents have to know they're anxious, many of them are frustrated. I do not think any parent has any need to go anywhere other than Dorchester 2, and I don't want anybody to have to leave because we fail to service them. That is our job. These are our children, this is our community, and doggone if they want virtual, they get virtual. It's as simple as that. So I'm making that very clear in my office, and I'm not having an easy time because working with a lot of well-planned, detailed, consistent, oriented people who want to be fair, and they're doing the right thing. I'm from the old school, please them all. And so if this is what they want, we're going to offer that. Because I know once we go back to face, they're all coming back. That's going to be our issue. And they're going to want to come back into the regular setting. But guess what? The teacher has to come with them. So we've got just a lot of things to connect, and we've never done this before. Nobody else has done this before. This is absolutely crazy. We are very proud of where we are as we talk to other school districts. If anybody's going to have a top program, we're going to be right at the top of the line. So, yes, we're going to service the parents best we can, and I think that could be. We're waiting for the registration now, isn't that?
Yeah, the registration ends Wednesday, and all of those parents that are wanting to enroll, even though the deadline has cut off, we have taken every name, every grade level, every phone number. We have a running list. We've actually provided those to the schools so they know the people that are on the waiting list so that they are planning just in case. But yes, we are waiting until all the registration is out of the way after Wednesday's online registration, and then we'll be able to get some accurate numbers. Planning to send out some contracts to the virtual academy parents so that we can sign off to get more solidified numbers. So there's a plan in place to make sure.
Some jumped and got their name on the list, and they're going to take their name off the list. I know that's going to happen. So we're going to have some trade-offs there. And I want flexibility both ways because this is a new storm. Just a hurricane just came through. Well, many of us did things that we questioned last night. I can't believe I did all that for this. However, what if you lived in Myrtle Beach? You'll be glad you did all of this. So we have to prepare from all angles, and this is so new. We just don't want to have a teacher being forced to do something they don't want to do. We don't want children in programs that's not beneficial to them. And parents, a lot of them are wanting guarantees. This is going to be, we can't guarantee anything. We've never done it. We are working with Edmentum. We're working with South Carolina Virtual only to help make sure we fill in all the gaps using their platforms, using their courses, maybe in some cases their teachers. If it's an odd course and we have no one here certified to do it and we've got enough kids, we're going to buy into that as one of our trade-offs. But our staff will be doing most of the hauling and the work. But again, what if we come up short? We're going to have to work out some system that we have people to do these courses. But then if we got that many kids going in, we have to have that many teachers going out. So we may find ourselves with, okay, teachers, you didn't volunteer to go, but there are 50 of you, and we have no students in your class. So you will now be going to virtual. I would hate to think that we're in that position, but this is a rough time, and it's out of our control as to pleasing everybody. We just have to, and then we would go to the transfer policy, that kind of thing, to make sure that people with seniority and all are treated the same way they are anytime we do anything in our district. But it's something we would like to avoid and hope that all the numbers match up.
Yeah, it's interesting because you've got the programs and the services ready to go as far as the virtual stuff. But then on the hiring side for teachers, you can't just say we're going to hire 500 additional teachers, because then what do you do with them when we get back to quote unquote normal? I'm telling you, you have to hire them for both things.
Right. And you have to be prepared to move in and out. And when's a good moving time? That's why we said it's semester. We can't have all this moving back and forth and have a teacher with 40 kids and another one with 2. And then we're back in the schoolhouse with 30 in a room instead of 20. We want to be careful. It won't be a scientific, wonderful situation, but we're going to work hard to make it as even as fair as we know how.
Do you have a rough number, know approximately how many teachers or educators we need right now
150.
for, say, the virtual? How many?
150 minimum.
So 150. So just putting that out there, I know there's a lot of folks watching. Might be a good way to get your foot in the door.
And if we take this waiting list and they keep coming,
yeah.
175, 180, it could actually go to 200.
Mr. Pye, are you putting
That's
a
huge.
limit? Is there a limit of virtual that you're taking?
What do you mean, virtual students?
Yeah.
No, we didn't set that. So because we're honoring what we were told to do, let the parents have a choice what's the best for the needs of their family. And we're looking at that. It could be a parent's work schedule. It could be a child's learning ability or lack of learning ability. Decisions are made for various reasons. That is the power of the parent, and only they can make that decision. It's our job to try to work with them and make it happen.
Can I just ask, if a teacher is teaching virtually and things get back to normal, are they guaranteed they can get back in the classroom and not teach virtual the second semester?
If the numbers drop accordingly, they'll go out probably in the way they came in. The ones that were, if any teacher is forced to go there, transferred there, then they would be on our first list to go back. Isn't that true, personnel? Because most of the people right now, let's say the first 100 may be volunteers. They want to be there. They're the ones we're counting on staying still. It's the ones that we have to say, would you help us out here? Then as soon as we have a chance to move you back, we certainly will. But all of our teachers are guaranteed a job in Dorchester District 2, period. It's just when. Is it going to be next year? Is it going to be Christmas time? Third 9 weeks, whatever.
Would that not also depend on the students? If you have a class of students and 20 of the 22 students decide they want to go back to the classroom, then that would be the teacher that would come back to the
She goes back,
classroom.
and the other 2 would be picked up by somebody else, which is what happens in all the virtual programs that we deal with in the community. So ours is more personalized than anybody's, but there's a certain point you can't teach just 2 students. You have to follow the group. So in our case, the teacher would be following our class.
Mr. Pye, if they get out a half a day like you're hoping that they can do, at 10 o'clock, whatever, you said they would not be going to special area, or what are you going to do with the special
We
area
don't know
teachers?
yet. That hasn't been decided. The time limit is so crunched that I would like for them to have as much true academic time, but we're concerned about the social emotional learning of the particularly young children, that we feel like there's going to be some presence for those students. We have to. We're paying those teachers. They're there. They're gifted. They're wonderful, and especially schools where, like Windsor Hill, art school, a lot is based on performance. So we have to. That's face to face. It's hard to do that virtually.
Ms. Crosby, we're having some, in fact, we met with Jason Walsh today, our new Fine Arts Director, and we're having discussions about that. We've talked about how they could actually come into the classroom, the fine arts folks, and integrate, sort of like what we were talking, how the teachers integrate anyway, science and math and music, and they learn something by singing or dancing or drawing a picture, so we've talked about that. We've talked about them being able to do teams in the afternoon and get on with their students virtually. There's several options out there. We just haven't finalized them yet, but we have been discussing it for sure.
Y'all were up to your ears, I know it. Thank you.
Mr. Pye, you want me to finish the
Yes.
update?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with the rest of the back-to-school update, after we go through and talk about what the reopening model is that we're looking at, then we remind them about halfway down the page, if you've got that in front of you, what the DHEC risk measures are, reminding them what a low risk, a medium risk, and a high risk would be. That's taken right from that very colorful slide that we've shared many times. So the low risk would be the face-to-face, where everybody comes 5 days a week, following the safety protocols. The medium risk is what we talk about a lot. That's the hybrid, where in grades 3 through 12 now, they would come 2 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday would be an e-learning day where teachers could also meet with them on Friday via Teams virtually. At the elementary level, they would do the 2 days, and then on Friday, they would get their math and their English language arts that morning. So they would really get 2 days face-to-face and another half a day for English and math on Friday morning face-to-face virtually. The 4K through first is what we've talked about tonight, that we've sort of amended to the hybrid model based on what we know about our primary kids, our younger babies, needing to be with their teachers and be able to see them face to face. So the 4K through first graders would come 5 days a week, for a half a day. They too would be divided into a cohort A and a cohort B, with one half coming in the morning and the other half coming in the afternoon, but coming all 5 days so that they see that teacher on a daily basis. And then, of course, the high risk is our e-learning, where the schools would be closed to students, and the students would be e-learning from home, much like our virtual academy model, but in the school-based model, because it would be temporary, and they would move back into, when safety conditions allow, either move back into the hybrid or the face-to-face.
What was the elementary times again going to be?
The elementary times are 7:15 to 1:45. And then the last part of the update talks about we've talked about all the school-based models. The last part of the update talks about the virtual academy and how that's 100%. Again, that we really want students, that's regardless of pandemics, hurricanes, anything, it's 100% virtual for those parents and those students that like to learn that way and want to stay in that for 100% of the time. And so that's the plan, to get out to our community and everyone as soon as possible. Questions?
I just have one question. I hope I'm not opening up a can of worms, because we probably don't know the answer. But if we get into school and then we find out the 1st of November, it goes from medium back to high, do we just immediately focus and begin what we do for high risk for a period of time?
I don't think and maybe I should let Mr.
Go
Pye
ahead.
answer. I don't think we could do that like on a dime. I think we're going to have to take 2 or 3 days, but yes, we are prepared. In fact, when I was talking to Mr. Walsh today, we're telling teachers, you've got to be ready to teach it virtually or face-to-face. So when you're doing your lessons, think about that. In order to get transportation and everything ready, you think about, in the spring, we needed a couple of days. I would think that if we found out on a Tuesday or Wednesday, that following Monday is when we would make the switch. But again, I can't say that for sure.
Right. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything? Thank you so much. Mr. Pye, do you have anything else?
That's it.
It's a lot. Okay, I need a motion right now for us to go into executive session for personnel matters regarding recommendations for hire. Mr. Farnsworth made the motion.
Second.
Mr. Guthrie second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to come out of executive session. Thank you, Mr. Mitchum, and seconded by Ms. Crosby. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to accept the recommendation of the administration to add a position to our organizational chart for the position of Virtual Academy Director.
Okay, do I hear a second? Mr. Mitchum? Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous. And we need to make another motion at this time.
Oh.
Is there anybody that would care to make that?
Ms. Robinson, I would like to make the motion to approve the personnel recommendation from the administration
For the Director of
for the Director of Virtual Academy.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Guthrie. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. And it is unanimous. And now I need a motion to adjourn.
Ms. Robinson, if I can, I need to make sure that the Flowertown Festival has been canceled this year. It has not been canceled for next year. I want to make sure I spoke correctly.
This year.
Correct, for 21, man, nothing has
21.
been, so,
And let's hope it will still be
Oh,
on.
please.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Tupper.
make sure.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Second? Ms. Hughes, all those in favor, raise your hand. Thank you, and thank you all for attending.